Ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro pleaded not guilty this evening to charges of narco-terrorism after the US military seized him at the weekend and brought him to New York. The 63-year-old and his wife appeared in a New York federal court charged in relation to 4 criminal counts that include cocaine importation, conspiracy and possession of machine guns and destructive devices.
At times it resembled Maduro the movie. Every step of the ousted Venezuelan leader's trip was caught on camera. From the Brooklyn jail, where he has been held since Sunday, to the Manhattan courthouse, where Nicolas Maduro and his wife this evening faced drug and firearm charges. The man responsible for bringing them there returned from what was, by any measure, an eventful Christmas break. En route from Florida to Washington, the US president made it clear he's now running Venezuela.
Don't ask me who's in charge, because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It means we're in charge. Venezuela right now is a dead country. We have to bring it back, and we're going to have big investments by the oil companies to bring back the infrastructure.
But as Mr. Trump's actions continue to reverberate around the world, so too do questions about the legality of removing Nicolas Maduro.
International law is the framework, is the anchor or the benchmark against which we judge the actions of all other governments. And it is, of course, for the US to justify the action that it has taken. It is not straightforward, it is complicated, and even today there are further developments. But I won't shy away from the fact that international law is the framework and is the benchmark.
As Venezuela's National Assembly convened for a new 5-year term, the mood was one of defiance.
Nicolas Maduro, regrese victorioso.
Empty seats left for Nicolas Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores would be filled once again when they returned to the country. The Maduro's son told the Assembly. A return to Venezuela looks unlikely anytime soon, though, as Mr. Maduro and his wife began their court battle this evening, pleading not guilty to a range of offences, with the judge scheduling their next court appearance for March 17th. Fiona Mitchell, RTE News.
Well, the UN Security Council is meeting in an emergency session to discuss the US capture of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. The meeting was called by Colombia, backed by Venezuela's allies, Russia and China. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said the meeting was taking place at a grave time following US military action in Venezuela.
No. Any comments, Ambassador?
It's good to see justice.
It's good to see justice, said the US ambassador on his way to the Security Council. But inside, condemnation came thick and fast. The ambassador of Colombia, a country that the US president warned could be next, had this to say.
All of this represents clear violations of the sovereignty, political independence and the territorial integrity of Venezuela. There is no justification whatsoever.
Venezuela's allies rallied, including Russia, which stands itself accused of violating international law over Ukraine.
The assault against the leader of Venezuela, compounded by the deaths of dozens of Venezuelan and Cuban citizens, in the eyes of many, has become a harbinger of a turn back to the era of lawlessness and U.S. domination by force.
But when it was time for the US to take the floor, the message was one of defiance.
As Secretary Rubio stated just yesterday, this is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be used as a base of operation for our nation's adversaries and competitors and rivals of the United States.
European nations, meanwhile, walked a diplomatic tightrope, critical of the Maduro regime, but reiterating support for international law.
Denmark recalls the foundational principle of international law that forbids states from threatening or using force against another state's territorial integrity and political independence.
But today, those principles on which the UN is founded have been shaken to the core.
Well, Yvonne joins us now from outside the UN headquarters. And Yvonne, you've been watching events closely this evening. Describe the move for us inside that room.
Yes, Vivian. Well, actually, the Security Council meeting is just breaking up now as we speak. And the mood, I have to tell you here, is very dark indeed. We appear to be living in an era, according to diplomats here, where members of the Security Council who are tasked with upholding international peace and security and the UN Charter are the ones that stand accused of violating it. First Russia over China, now US over Venezuela. You heard the US envoy there, Mike Waltz, talking about the Western Hemisphere. It seems clear that they will not stop short of using military action in order to get what they want. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, earlier saying that he doesn't care what the UN thinks. Real palpable fear amongst Latin American representatives here about who might be next. For the Europeans too, on the other hand, there are concerns specifically about Greenland and the threats being made against Greenland by the US administration. You heard again the Danish representative talking about territorial integrity and sovereignty. But today here, Vivian, it seems that those very fundamental principles, the bedrock of this institution, are now being questioned. And it's, for many diplomats here, it is a dark day indeed.
All right, Yvonne Murray in New York, thank you.